Okay, hello people, how you doing? Hope you're doing great. I'm sorry for being so late with this video lesson. Honestly, I've been against the clock these days, but well, here we are. Well, last lesson we started discussing ideology and discourse and CDA, and today we're going to continue discussing these concepts and notions. So ideology is explained in terms of three different dimensions. We have cognition, society, and discourse. This is kind of cognitive definition of ideology. Cognition is related to the system of beliefs and ideas shared with members of specific groups. These ideas can be social, religious, political ideas. So we can talk about communism, anti-communism. We can talk about socialism, liberalism, feminism, sexism. We can talk about racism, anti-racism, abortionists, pro-life people, and well, and as we discussed in the previous lesson, we're going to find that these ideas are kind of polarized. Yes, this like an us and them dichotomy, because we are in a group and we distinguish ourselves from the others. Yes. Then we have society. Society has to do with the groups and the relationships in the groups and institutions which are involved in the development and reproduction of ideologies. And then we have the discursive dimension that is particularly how our everyday talk is influenced by ideological ideas, how by the way we talk, we reproduce ideological beliefs. So it is like the text and talk being influenced by ideologies. Yeah, so here you have like the definitions of each. We have cognition, social cognitions shared by members of a group. Remember, we talk about ideas, we talk about beliefs shared by members of a group. Then we have groups and relations between groups and institutions involved in the development and reproductions of ideologies. That's the social dimension. And we have the discursive dimension that says how ideology influences our daily text and talk, and how discursive and how discourse is involved in the reproduction of ideology. Yes, so let's take racism as an example. Yes, as we are analyzing Beveridge's speech to gain control over the Philippines. So we're going to see how racism is reproduced throughout the speech. Yes. So discourse, here you have another clearer definition. Discourse is language use, text, talk, verbal interaction, and communication. Cognition, the mental aspects, ideas, beliefs, and their relations with opinions and knowledge. And society, the social, political, cultural, and historical aspects, their role in the reproduction of or resistance against dominance. So, it is important to state that discourse structures play a fundamental role in the expression and reproductions of ideologies. Why? Because they will influence different levels of discourse structures. Yes, ideologies influence levels of discourse structures. So the way we speak, yes, as regards intonation, the meanings we choose, the ideas which are presupposed, and the arguments we use for or against, the metaphors, the style, the sometimes the contrast established in discourse, the repetition of certain lexical items, the way we order the words in the sentence, yes, and has to do with syntax. So the way we use language, the way we organize language in discourse will be influenced by ideological beliefs. So ideologies has an impact on the way we use language. Yes, that's why there are some people who use some expressions and not others. Yes, for instance, someone who is in favor of abortion will talk about, we say in Spanish, interrupción del embarazo, yes, and pro-life are going to consider that interrupción del embarazo is a euphemistic expression because actually what they mean is to kill a baby. So here we can see how, according to the ideological beliefs, we are going to choose the words to express maybe the very same situation. Yes, so a pro-life may explain that pregnancy cannot be interrupted, and that if you are expecting a baby, that baby can continue with his or her life or not. And we know that the contrary to continue with a pregnancy, it means killing the baby, yes. But as it sounds like strong and rude, so if I'm in favor of abortion, I would choose interrupción del embarazo. So the expression may cause another mental effects on the listeners. Yes. Or if I'm in favor of some feminist theories, I will use, for example, cuerpos gestantes, and someone who is not will discuss that the only kind of cuerpos that can that can expect babies are women. So, but it is implied that in the expression cuerpos gestantes, I am including other kinds of identities that can be pregnant according to this group. Yeah, so we see how these members of specific groups will choose one expression and not others expressions in accordance with the ideological beliefs that underline those choices. And this is just to mention some examples, okay? And well, metaphors, as we say, argumentation, presupposition, coherence, and intonation. Yes, everything. Well, if you listen to some political celebrities, let's say, okay, some well-known politicians, you will easily identify how they use intonation in their speech, yes, in their campaign. Okay. So ideology also serves as a basis for social practices. Yes, and when we talk about social practices, we mean language use and discourse. Yes, that's where language is put into practice. But how we acquire, learn, or change ideologies. Yes, so how do we acquire ideological ideas? Where do we take them from? Other groups. Yes, beginning with our family, friends, peers, yes, other groups. We take ideologies from other groups. We can reinforce our own ideologies, or we can change our ideologies, or we can just see the different viewpoints, yes? So we take ideological beliefs and ideas from groups by watching television. Yes, if there is, I don't know, a platform that has certain ideological position, you will easily identify that. And so by watching television, you will be learning ideologies. Textbooks at school, yes. It depends on who writes the script, right? Who writes the book and what's the intention of the book. But there are a lot of ideologies. We have seen that at school there are many textbooks which are influenced by political ideologies. Yes, and the way the history is narrated and told and explained, and they are ideologically influenced. Advertising, yes, through advertising we learn ideologies. This campaign was Love is Love. There are, of course, other genres which are more explicit when it comes to expressing and teaching ideologies. Yes, here we have a picture of it could be a political demonstration or a strike or a blockade. Yes. And well, ideologies. They are a system of beliefs and ideas shared by social groups or movements. There is an us and them polarization, in-group versus out-group. And as we have just said, ideology can serve as the basis of social practices. Yes, so they will appear in discursive practices. Yes. So critical discourse analysis, as we have talked last lesson, it's a way to study how power and relationships are established and reinforced through language. Yeah, so the question I ask you to keep in mind when analyzing beverage speech is how racism is reinforced and established through language. What examples of racism can we find in beverage speech? What words does he choose? Who he is talking to? Well, now we're going to see some topics connected to that. Framing. Framing has to do with where does the text come from, which is the frame of the text. And it will ask us to consider the view of the text. Yes, it will give you the perspective of the text. So every time we analyze discourse, we should ask ourselves, where does this text come from? Where is it from? Who's the editor? Who's the company beyond? What's the movements? What entity is supporting this? What campaign is supporting or carry out this text? Yes. So the framing is very important, and you should ask every time you are in front of a text, where does the text come from? Yes. What organization, what institutions are behind the text we are holding? Foregrounding. Yes. What is placed at the front? What is being emphasized? Yes. What is being given prominence in a text? Foregrounding is what we want to be observed. Yes. Emphasized. Yes, the concept and issues which are emphasized. The subject of the text, the object of concern of the text. Who is at the foreground of the text? Yes, what is made important, as I just said. And then you have the background, that it's the opposite. It's what concepts and issues are played down in the text, what is reduced in importance, what is minimized in the text. Yes. Well, the audience. Is the audience going to be is the audience going to expect is going to expect to share the views of the text. What is the audience relations with the author or the speaker? Who does the politician talk to? Yes, is a politician talking to his or her followers? Is he or she talking to the opposition? So the audience is very important. Who is the speaker addressing? Is he addressing his or her fellows party? Is he addressing to other members of the same position? Or is he or she addressing to someone in a higher position? Is he or she addressing the president? Yes, other senators. Is he or she talking about people, civilians, citizens? So, and what is the attitude of the audience? As I've said before, is the audience expecting to share the views of the speaker or not? Okay, then you have topicalization. Yes, has to do with placing at the front of each sentence to show what it is about. Yes, the topic of each sentence and paragraph will indicate what is valued or devalued. Yes, and last, we have agent-patient relation. Who has the most authority or power in a sentence, paragraph, or the text? For example, in the case of passive voice, if you're using passive voice, you may be leaving some entity subjects aside. Yes, maybe you are not mentioning, maybe you are not putting emphasis on the doer, and you just want to emphasize the action. And why do you want to emphasize the actions and not giving credit to the person involved? The degree of formality in the text, yes. The words which indicates degree of certainty or some other attitudes. So we're going to see that every time you analyze discourse, the words, the style, the words, the style, the literary devices, the organization of the information in the text, what is mentioned at the beginning or in the first paragraph, what is mentioned at the end of the speech. Yes, everything will be ideologically influenced. Every time we speak, every time we use words, the words we use, the questions we ask, everything is influenced by the ideological beliefs. So I think you can have, I think you have now like a more overview on ideology and discourse. But of course, we are going to continue discussing these concepts with beverage speech. Yes, pay attention. First of all, pay attention to the audience. Yes, who is he talking to? Who is he addressing? Where is he addressing the speech? What does he want? What's the purpose of his speech? Does the opening paragraph summarize the main ideas in the speech? Well, what else? What words does he use to describe Americans? How does he describe Americans and how does he describe Philippines? What does he say about Philippines concerning their ability to self-governing? Yes, to self-govern and managing the resources. What does he say about the geographical rich in the geographical place. What views, what presuppositions, what ideas, what preconceived ideas maybe he has as about Philippines? Yes. What does he think about the other American fellows who are not in favor of taking control over the islands? What metaphors does he use? Does he include some religious arguments to justify his ideas? So what are the ideas beyond the maybe the words or the propositions he uses? Yes, how are sentences organized? So there are many things to take into account, and that's why we say that CDA is an interdisciplinary approach. Yes, and that this concept of ideology I've been sharing with you is a multidisciplinary course, because to examine and to study discourse, we need to include things from other sciences like social sciences, humanities, literary studies. So we can have we have to take contributions from different disciplines so as to analyze discourse. Yes, that's why we say Van Dijk explains this is interdisciplinary approach, because you can, when you study the style or the lexicon or morphology or syntax, well, you will be dealing with grammar and literary studies. Yes, and maybe when you are studying or when you study the syntactic orders of the sentences, as we said, the example of passive voice, why is the author or the speaker using passive voice and not active voice? Well, that's grammar. Yes, and or pragmatics, maybe if you want to analyze the speech acts, yes, or the maxims being flouted, the cooperative principle, yes, you will be dealing with pragmatics. Or if you study some historical figures embedded in the speech, well, you will be taking notions from the humanities, from history, why not? So as you see, it is a rather complex approach to discourse studies. So I hope this is helpful for you, and we see you next week. Yes, in a face-to-face lesson next Thursday, Thursday the 4th. We'll be sharing a lesson with Maribel with you. Yes, so you can have some more information about the poems you have been reading for language. Okay, bye bye, guys.